Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming along to the webinar today on exploring the cloud with Professional Advantage. My name is Hilton Kelly and I'm the presenter today. I'm the Infrastructure and Cloud Services Practice Manager at Professional Advantage, and I'll be talking you through a few topics today that I think are quite relevant to a lot of small businesses. Please, if you do have any questions, there is a chat box there. You can send them through in real time and we'll try and interact with you in real time. There will be a couple of polls during the presentation. We'd ask you to respond to those so that we can make it a little bit more interactive and a bit more interesting. All right, so we kick off now. What I'm going to be talking about is which cloud service is right for you. So how do you look at what's available in the market and determine what's the right approach? The benefits of cloud services to business. What cloud applications are available for business? What's Office 365? What does it look like? I'm actually going to be doing some demonstrations at the end of that. Dealing with data sovereignty and the concerns that people have around protecting either your intellectual property or your customer or internal data. And I'm doing some cloud application demos. So as I mentioned, I'll be going through some SharePoint demonstrations in Office 365, SkyDrive, the new Outlook web client, and a number of the new Outlook web apps, as well, the Microsoft web apps, as well as I'll be giving you a view of a private cloud hosted application in real time, so you can see what they look like. Right, so which cloud is right for me? So essentially there are three ways of buying cloud services today, and they're all slightly different with different commercial models and dependencies on internal IT skills. Normally, businesses would look at infrastructure as a service where you want to maintain a skilled IT team and want to pay a monthly fee for virtualized infrastructure. Normally, this is where you're self-managed because you've got significant internal IT skills. It's normally housed in purpose-built enterprise-grade data centers, and most small and medium businesses couldn't justify the expense to build that sort of data center infrastructure. So there's the advantages of this model is that you get redundant power, UPS systems, generators, redundant air conditioning, higher security levels than most businesses could afford to invest in. And the underlying infrastructure normally is engineered with a level of redundancy and failover that most businesses in the smaller scale just can't afford to invest in. So if we look at a typical infrastructure as a service provider, Amazon's an example of that as in a public sense. You can get private infrastructure as a service as well. And that's where you basically pay on demand per server resource for RAM, storage, and internet. You're still required to have some fairly skilled IT personnel because normally you have to do your own design work and your management and deploy and manage your applications. This is the most complex type of cloud infrastructure that people, I guess, have access to. And the next level is cloud platforms, or what's in old terms deemed managed services. In this model, you still get the benefits of public cloud infrastructure of managing IT because normally all the underlying infrastructure, the servers, the design work, all the operating systems, all of that's managed for you. So all you're responsible for in this model is actually running the application, and in a lot of cases businesses don't even have that expertise, and that's outsourced to a third party for application support, whether that be a vendor or a systems integrator that's put the application in for you. Not a lot of cloud service providers can actually do the application level support, but there are some. Professional Advantage is an example of a business that can actually, even with platform or service, we can step up and do the application management as well. And that is also from a on-premise perspective, so we can do on-premise platform as a service where if you don't want to put it, say, in our data center or in the public cloud, you can have a purpose-built private cloud infrastructure on your premises managed externally by another supplier like Professional Advantage. And we would also then assist you with the application management as well. For that matter, we can also do the desktop, so if you need desktop management and patching, that's available as well. So that's been the most popular form of cloud services, and really it's the evolution of the old managed service model into cloud. That was where cloud first evolved. The latest craze in, it's not really a craze, it's just everyone now is deploying applications to the cloud. So no longer do you even have to have the application in your own premises or under your control. It's now being deployed as software as a service. And that's where the market really is heading for most small and medium businesses. Over time, I believe, will not have any internal applications. They'll all be run out of the cloud. And it'll be a pay-per-user model as opposed to platform as a service, which is a pay-per-service or per platform. So the three different commercial models there are: infrastructure as a service is pay for resource and do all the design work yourself. Platform as a service is pay per platform, or so for example, you pay for a server, a SQL server, an Exchange server, that old model of infrastructure building. And software as a service, you're just paying per user accessing an application. So Microsoft Azure and Office 365 are very good examples of a software as a service provided by Microsoft on a public platform. You can also deliver an equivalent to Azure and Office 365 from a private environment, and that's one of the areas that Professional Advantage does quite a bit of work. Some people are obviously not comfortable with their data going offshore in the public cloud model with Office 365, but that doesn't mean you can't achieve the same types of benefits and features and usability that you would get on public cloud. Right, moving on. So what are the benefits of cloud services? Well, you automatically get improved remote access, and that has a number of benefits to most businesses. Obviously, it can improve productivity, means you can get access to your key applications from anywhere, anytime. And that the benefit of that shouldn't be underestimated. I work in a business that has fully cloud-enabled or web-enabled every single application we use internally in the business. And what that means is I can actually work from anywhere at any time, providing I've got an internet connection. And I have a little Windows RT Surface tablet. I don't even need to take my laptop out of the office anymore, so I can still have full productivity for Excel, PowerPoint, our CRM system, our finance and expenses system. We have an extensive SharePoint environment, so all of my documents and everything that I need access to is available to me externally. So that's a very key benefit of moving to the cloud. Another key benefit is it's more scalable. A lot of businesses start off small, and over 4 or 5 years they can quite rapidly grow. With cloud, it's virtually on demand under most of the contract models that I've been talking about. You can add capacity as you need to go, and you don't have to have a large capex involved in growing the environment. And they're designed to scale gradually or quickly, whatever suits your budget or your business growth needs. The costs are generally predictable in a cloud model because you've got a fixed cost model as the environment grows, and in our case, for most of our services, they're all built around a per user model. So whenever we deploy a cloud environment for a client, it's no longer I need one of these and one of those and all these different widgets to build the environment. It simply comes down to what applications do you want to use, how many users do you have, and we take care of all of that work. We provision that and provide you a managed environment for a monthly cost per user. So that's what makes it predictable, because there's no project cost as such. And because of that model, it's also a faster deployment, because we do this sort of thing repeatedly. We've got the experience to deploy even a private environment very, very much a lot quicker than another business could do it themselves. And as far as expansion goes, we've got the automation in place so that when things change, we can react quickly to the business requirements of multiple customers. A big key benefit is you get the latest versions by going to cloud without having to have fairly expensive upgrade cycles. So there's obviously an initial migration over to cloud services, and that's often a lot less than it would be to do an in-house upgrade of systems to get them all up to speed. By the time you add in all of the technical support costs, the hardware costs, all the design work, by going to cloud, you're automatically getting the latest versions without all of that hard work. You obviously get better productivity, as I've already mentioned, because you're using the latest integrated tools for most of the cloud applications, and they are, for all of the leading applications, designed to integrate with other applications, which means you're not switching in between applications all the time. I've already mentioned, significantly reduced capex and staffing costs in our model. There's no hardware capex models no hardware capex costs, no infrastructure costs up front. It's just a migration fee for migrating and then an ongoing monthly fee. So you significantly reduce your IT staffing costs and management support costs. And it shouldn't be underestimated the level of competitive advantage that you can gain from going to the cloud. Now, a lot of that comes down to embracing the online world and getting the latest versions, which add a lot of features and interaction capability to business for business to consumer or business to business or business to partner type models, so that you're perceived better in the market by being up to date and more interactive and more open to whoever you work with in your business. Right. So what's available today in the cloud? Well, CRM is probably one of the oldest well-known service software as a service models, and that was probably Salesforce that drove a lot of adoption early in the market for that. There's also Microsoft CRM available as a public offering, and also as a private offering that we do from our data center in Sydney. So you can get quite a lot of choice for CRM in the market today. There's obviously ERP, finance, HR and BI systems available in the cloud as well. We have a number of the Microsoft ones available and some Sun Infor systems platforms available as a pay-per-user model as well. And there are obviously other packages available in the market that cover those areas. So as you can see, there's quite a lot covered there already. So you can also get portals and online file storage and document management systems run out of the cloud now, so you no longer need to run intranets or extranets or any sort of document management internally. It can all be hosted in the cloud. Again, the same with email. Email's been available for a while as a managed service, but obviously with the release of Office 365, you can now access a public cloud version of Exchange with all of the bells and whistles around their latest applications from the Microsoft Office suite. And that'll enable with link messaging, things like conferencing, messaging and collaboration in real time. Much like what we're doing here today with GoToMeeting, you can achieve the same within Link. Obviously the Microsoft application stack is all cloud-based in Office 365, so that gives you access to things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher, OneNote and Link, all hosted in the cloud. I think I should mention SharePoint as well. So a lot of 365 is actually built around 365 and, built around SharePoint and around the capabilities of Microsoft Link. And of course, you can also get managed desktop in the cloud now. So you can, Microsoft have some services, as we do as well, that will allow you to monitor and manage your desktop environment from an externally managed monitoring environment. So you no longer need to have in-house skills to deploy operational management tools to manage a desktop. All right, so now we're going to go into a little bit more detail about what is Office 365. Right, so subscription-based software per user, that's the model for Office 365, which is basically software as a service. And the costs range from about $7 a month per user for the basic web apps version of Office 365 through to about $33 a month for the full enterprise version, which gives you all the features, including Outlook as a client, a proper desktop client, and all of the Office suite. You also get the benefit with Office 365 of being able to install applications onto 5 machines per user. So that means it becomes a lot easier to manage licensing across multiple devices because it's already included in the license. So that means you could basically have a desktop, a laptop. In my case, I'm using a tablet, so I can actually use the Office 365 licensing on that tablet as well. And that gives you an opportunity to potentially access Office applications from a home PC or some other controlled environment if you don't want to offer home PC access. I've already mentioned you get Word Access, Publisher, OneNote, Link, and Outlook. And there is another tool which some businesses use, which is a workflow tool in the enterprise version, but there's not a lot of uptake of that in the market. A couple of different steps in the plan. So there's a home level plan which is useful for those that want to get the latest versions of Office on their home machine, and that's a direct licensing and billing model directly with Microsoft. The small business and enterprise plans are available locally through Telstra, who is a billing agent. We at Professional Advantage do a number of implementations for businesses around Office 365. What that means is migrating your email into the cloud or doing a hybrid version of a deployment where you might have some on-premise, some in the cloud. For example, you might have email in the cloud, but you might have SharePoint on-premise, but still leveraging Office 365. As I mentioned, it's built. Office 365 is built around SharePoint, Exchange, and Link. They're very core to the experience. So at the end of this seminar, I'll be giving you some demonstrations of those products and how they work. I mentioned earlier, you can achieve the same Office 365 functionality and the same pricing model in a private or hybrid cloud deployment. So you don't have to worry about your data being offshore with Microsoft, because you can deploy all the same functionality and the same sort of pricing model from a private cloud environment in Australia, managed and run by Professional Advantage. So that's very important for a lot of businesses that are sensitive about their data being offshore, and data sovereignty being one of the key issues for a lot of businesses. I'll be covering off as a separate topic very shortly. So one thing about Office 365 that a lot of people don't realise, that it's not the magic for everything. What it does is it takes away the design work and all of the management of the applications and the infrastructure, but you still need someone to administer the user environment and add users, remove users, change policies, those sorts of things. So it's not a complete IT-free experience. You still need to have some limited skills, or you can actually outsource Office 365 management to Professional Advantage. Now on to data sovereignty, which is quite a big question in people's minds, and how do you actually address it and manage it? Here's my first couple of tips. So use the public cloud for productivity for Office 365, and that means basically for your email and your Office apps. That doesn't mean putting your SharePoint or file store up in Office 365. That means just having email up there. Now, some businesses are going to be sensitive to that as well, and there are ways around data sovereignty issues, because there are things in the Australian Privacy Act, National Privacy Principle number 9, I think it is, that states if you're having sensitive client or customer data offshore, you have an obligation to ensure that it's protected to the same level that it would be locally. And in a lot of cases, because of the Patriot Act in the US, unfortunately, for US-based cloud vendors, which most of them are US-based, they're subject to the Patriot Act, especially when the data's offshore out of Australia in the US or other European countries. That means they can access any data, whether it's sensitive to your business or not, if there's a criminal investigation regarding to any matter, whether it be terrorist or financial or anything along those lines. So there is a concern about data sovereignty for some businesses, and the way around that is obviously be careful about what you put in the public cloud. Try and use local private cloud providers where possible, or use a hybrid version as I've just suggested. So the ways to use local managed private cloud is to basically use a local data center provider that hosts an Office 365 type of experience, which includes your email exchange, your SharePoint, so that none of the data goes offshore, and then you're protected. So when I mentioned about sensitive data, obviously CRM and financials are generally the most sensitive data in organisations, because they can host any number of very personal information that you don't necessarily want leaked. So those are the things that I would definitely not put offshore at this stage in any sort of public cloud environment. And I mentioned previously, build an Office 365 type environment with a private cloud provider like Professional Advantage. Right, now we're going to move on to the cloud demonstration now, and I'm going to show you Office 365 in use. See that from earlier questions, a couple of people have had exposure to the web apps, but I just thought I'd quickly show you what they look like. Show a bit of SharePoint, what SkyDrive looks like, both in the SharePoint version of SkyDrive Pro and the consumer version of SkyDrive. And I'm going to show you Financial General Ledger called Dynamics GP, hosted in our private cloud environment. So this is what Office 365 looks like when you log in. You have your Outlook calendar in a web app. It looks and functions very much like the full desktop client. You can, of course, still install the full desktop client, but the licensing is cheaper, and there are some businesses that don't want the full clients for certain users. So you could basically have a mix and match environment where light use web access users can access this light client, and then you reduce your management and running costs by having that as opposed to the full client. You still get your calendar and your contacts, and it works as you would expect an Office application, except it's all browser-based using HTML5. The SkyDrive feature basically runs on SharePoint. This is what they call the SkyDrive Pro. You can see here, this is basically like your file server, except hosted up in the cloud. So you can access all of your files and even open them in a web browser. So this is one of the very unique things about Office 365, the fact that now on any HTML5 capable browser, whether it be an Android tablet, an iPad, or an iPhone, you can now actually open these documents in your web browser, which I'm just doing for you now. So this is the PowerPoint web app, the Word web apps, etc. All work the same way. Obviously, this is just another view of the presentation that I gave earlier. Now, I could actually edit this presentation if I wanted to in the web browser. So I can actually tell it to open it in my desktop client because I'm using a full laptop for the presentation. But for this purpose, I'll just show you editing in the web app. So as you can see there, it it looks like a normal PowerPoint in terms of an application. You've got your ribbon bar still, and you've got 95% of the capabilities that you would experience in a full desktop client. In fact, if I go full screen, which I just did by pushing F11 on the browser, it now looks and feels like a full desktop application, but that's actually still running in a browser. You get all of the same capabilities that you're used to seeing. This is basically SharePoint here, accessing that file. So I can do a number of things with that file in order to share it. I can get previews of files without downloading them, which is fantastic. It saves on internet usage and bandwidth. You can send guest links, edit it, share, or follow a document, so when it changes you get notified. And these are all features that are built into the Office 365 SharePoint. You get obviously the ability to do sites, your traditional intranet and even full websites from Office 365. So there are a number of high-profile companies that are now using SharePoint and Office 365 to deploy their whole public-facing website. And the reason is that it's included as a single monthly fee, and it's drag and drop, so and very easy to generate user-created content. So one of the big changes in SharePoint is now the ability for end users without IT involvement to generate, create content, create sites. There are things like news feeds and discussion areas, so you've got the built-in social element that people are used to now with Facebook, now built into Office 365 for SharePoint. It's a very detailed topic going into SharePoint, so I'm only going across the very high levels of that today. So I've showed you SkyDrive Pro, which is what this basically is here. If I show you the consumer version, that's my SkyDrive folder link up there to my SkyDrive folder. Now it basically automatically syncs documents between my laptop and the SkyDrive. So again, you can see I've got documents up there, but you don't get the features that you get with the SharePoint. I can't check documents out, or I can't share them in the same way as I would if I was using the SkyDrive Pro. So this is the version that you get when you're signing up for the home version of 365, or if you've just got a live account and you're linking your documents to the free cloud space they give you. The last quick demo I'm going to give you is of private cloud-hosted application. So this is accessing Microsoft Dynamics GP, which is a general ledger finance application, accessing that through a web browser. So I've already logged into the Citrix web client, which is basically just an intro screen where you log in, and that now presents a desktop. So I'll just start that up. I'm going to run in the background and I'll be able to switch across to it. So there we have a cloud-hosted application running in the cloud, accessing it via the web as if I was running a full desktop application. So I can open and use this as if it was running locally on my desktop, but it's actually running in the cloud. And as you can see, this is just using our standard internet access. We don't have any sort of private link to our hosting environment for this. This is just going out over our internet link to the data center to access the environment. It's quite snappy and feels like you're using a normal desktop client. You can do everything in here that you would do as if you had the application installed locally. So that's just really quick snapshot of what private cloud applications can look like today. This is basically running a published application from Citrix, and we can do that for any application you can think of. So GP just happens to be one with a couple of others that we've productized, so we can do Dynamics CRM, Dynamics GP, Dynamics AX. We can do INF for some systems and some other packages as well around business intelligence and reporting tools, all run from the cloud. So that just about wraps up the presentation and the demonstration.